also. So that's about it.
I drank this hot tea with lemon in it.
Yeah.
And honey.
Yeah. I read Bill Youngkin's article that he did on you, so I got a little sort of a background, but I'd sort of like for you to just sort of tell me about your career. Where'd you grow up, and how'd you get into the into the armed services, into the Army, and
I was born and raised right here in Snook.
oh, were you? Yeah, okay.
And after high school, I stayed around Snook not very long. I joined the CCCs, which we called it Tree Army.
Right.
We were under the Army Connect, but there's two types of camps, well, maybe more, but I was in two different ones. One in Madisonville at first, and it was a soil conservation. And I learned things about building a fence and soil conservation that I never learned on the farm.
Right.
And then they shut that camp down after 2 or 3 months. And then I was sent to Longhorn Cavern, the camp on Longhorn Cavern right on the banks.
Mm-hmm.
See, the CC boys actually cleared the Longhorn Cavern and got it ready for visitors. All the work that's there was done by the Civilian Conservation Corps.
I'll be darned. Huh.
And
Didn't
that was complete by that time.
Mm-hmm.
And we were working on the road that goes from Longhorn Cavern to Inks Lake, and then on the Inks Lake State Park.
Right.
So.
Right. Up there around Lake Buchanan and.
Well, it's below Lake Buchanan.
Right.
Inks Lake is between Lake Buchanan and LBJ Lake.
Right. I used to go deer hunting on Inks Lake.
Inks Lake.
Yeah, right off of right outside of Vernon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
On that, but well then my 6 months was up, and parents needed me on the farm. It was about cotton planting time, so I got out and stayed out. Well, I stayed there till they got the crop going again, and then I went down to Port Arthur and worked construction in the Texas company plant for the Loomis Company, and stayed there a few months. And I had a cousin that went to welding school in Brenham, the old NYA welding school. So I decided that's better than that'd be a lot better than digging these ditches in between these pipes.
What year are we talking about?
This was in 1942.
Okay.
Yes, that was 42 already.
Mm-hmm.
See, I graduated from high school in 1940, and then went to the CCs and was there later part of 41, and I guess must have got out by January of 42, because then I went to work construction, then welding school, and worked at the shipyard, Brown Shipyard in Houston, till for a few months and came home for a weekend. I was working at 4 in the afternoon. Anyway, we worked a 10-hour shift. We got off early in the morning, from 4 o'clock till whatever, 10 hours, till 6. And came home for the weekend, and I had the guys that I went to school with that had registered for the draft. They were being called that had larger numbers than mine. And boy, it was always, all the news was out. You better let the draft board know where you're at all times. Well, I'd drop a card, but you never get a response what they got it or not.
Right.
So, in other words, if you get prison time and all this stuff, Monday morning on the way back to Houston, I stopped at the draft board in Somerville, and they couldn't find my card.
Oh.
And they started looking in other files, and the shipyard had put in for deferment. And see, I never asked it, I didn't even know about it. So I told them, well, I didn't want a deferment. I was ready to go.
Sure.
So that was on a Monday, and that Friday or Saturday, I don't remember, I had my greetings. As a fast U.S. mail, U.S. government worked fast.
They believed you. You were ready to go, and they were ready to send you.
Yeah. So that was my last week. I may have worked one more week at the shipyard, but that was all. I came home By that time, Dad was planting corn and cotton, corn, not cotton yet.
Mhm.
And the corn is, and I got called and I was inducted on February 22nd of 1943.
Mhm.
And I then went to, went to Fort Sam. I had 2 weeks off till we had to report back. And in Fort Sam Houston, I shipped to Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Mhm.
From Fort Knox, well, that had my basic training in Fort Knox.
Right.
And then shipped from there. I went to Camp Campbell, which is Fort Campbell now,
Mhm. In
Kentucky,
Mhm.
and joined the 20th Armored Division,
Mhm.
and which was a cavalry foreman division,
Right.
which they trained the foreman. We were supposed to form, so I understand now. That's just what we were told.
Right.
The 26th Armored in Camp Chaffee, Arkansas. That's what they told us that we were scheduled to do.
Mhm.
So they were training us. Happened to be in the artillery.
Right.
It was armored artillery. It was self-propelled because it was little 105s. So
These are tanks.
the tanks, yes.
105.
No, 105 howitzers.
105 Howard. Okay.
That's the M7 tank.
Right.
They're open turn. They weren't closed in turn.
Mhm.
We had because the recoil on that was too large to have in a turn.
Right.
So it is an open top, and we did have a 50 caliber machine gun, which one of the people had to mount. So that's where I got most. That's where I spent most of my time, stateside time, was in Camp Campbell.
Mhm.
Because after a few months of that, then they decided the Army, like I said, had enough divisions. So instead of, so we made a combat division out of us. We were training, getting ready. We were all ready to go together. You get to be like family after so long a time.
Sure. Yeah.
And after that, then it was within about a year. We were all of us that. Well, then when they killed the combat dude, we were just regular cannoneers. Then we didn't. There was no non-com positions signed because we weren't. You didn't need them, and we were already where we were going to be.
Mhm.
And then when they sent the guy to close the what they call the Army Specialist Training School, which I don't know, but I was told that was the ones that were going to study to be officers, second Louis, like
Mhm.
commissioned officer school. And all those guys were privates, and they came in and replaced us when we went overseas as replacements.
Right.
And we sailed out of New York Harbor on the Aquitania, which at the time was a British luxury liner. But I thought, boy, when we were marching down, while we were going there, we were marching to get on the Aquitania. We passed right by the berth where the Normandy had burned.
Uh-huh.
You know, with American, with our, which was the third largest ship in the world. You know, but then after it burned, the Aquitania was. You had Queen Elizabeth and Queen Mary, which were larger.
Right. Right.
And so we traveled, but we
You left from where? From New York Harbor?
from New York Harbor, and I just found a souvenir from the what is that? There's a picture of four of us, or five or six that were in a bar, and someone got it and gave us a souvenir of that before we left,
Mhm.
and I just happened to find it a while ago.
Oh, we don't.
Oh, the other day rather.
Yeah.
But from there we went into Scotland.
That's where you
Disembarked
in Scotland.
But
So
then
how long a trip was that?
it took us 8 days.
Was it?
We traveled without an escort. With
So you zigzag.
zigzag
Yeah.
ever big.
Yeah.
And when we got up on that, we had to climb that ladder and started walking. And boy, I seen all these nice rooms. I said, boy, this is gonna be. So that's a luxury liner.
Uh-huh.
And then it took us a little ways, and we started down.
Yeah.
Down. Well, when we got there, we had a spot about half as wide as this room,
Uh-huh.
and well, you seen them in the movie. The cots laid down,
Right.
I think 5 or 6 high, and we had about 60, about 18 inches wide.
Not much luxury about
There
it.
wasn't any luxury. But actually, we went in from Scotland, then we went into England, and that's where we stayed.
So where were you based in England?
You know, I don't remember
Okay.
the name of the town.
Yeah.
It's about 60 miles out of London.
I see.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
And then we went back into Liverpool, and that's where we sailed out of to France.
Mm-hmm.
We came in. I don't remember if it's Omaha Beach or Utah Beach. But not. This wasn't D-Day. I mean,
No.
Harry stench was still there.
Yeah.
From the human.
Sure.
And
So about what date was this? Did you
this
say
is about September. You mean from?
from Liverpool?
It's in September.
It's in September.
Sometime later August, early September.
Okay.
And then we, in France up there, we got to Cherbourg, and cleared the Cherbourg airport, and the casualties were heavy in Italy. So they flew us in the cargo plane from Cherbourg to Italy, to Pisa. That's where we
Yeah.
landed. And that was, strange was a lot of the charge of the group that we were in is only about 15 soldiers on that. And it took 2 days to fly one way because we landed in Lyon overnight. Well, I may be wrong. It probably wouldn't have had we got an early start, but we spent the night in Lyon and then flew into Pisa the next day.
Right.
And we circled the Leaning Tower. I saw it from the air before I saw it from the ground.
Right.
And I don't remember how long we were in Pisa. It wasn't long, but long enough where we did get to climb the Leaning Tower
Climb the Leaning Tower.
before they closed it down.
Yeah.
And then I joined the 91st Infantry Division, which was on in the Apennine Mountains then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lucky to get back in the artillery. However, this was a 155 howitzers. They're a little bigger,
Mm-hmm.
ground mount.
Right.
It was a different operation because the gunner had responsibility of the elevation and deflection. On the 105, self-propelled, the gunner just had deflection and the number one cannoneer elevation.
Mm-hmm.
So well, I guess that was for speed. The ground mount, you weren't moving fast.
Right.
But
So what was your job? Were you a gunner?
well, I was a gunner.
Yeah.
Not when I first joined them,
No.
but after a casualty,
Right.
the gunner was injured, and so then I became the gunner on the 155.
On the 155.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you see a lot of combat?
Well, I don't remember just when we got there, but I do remember it was muddy. The later part of, I guess this must have been through October. It got so muddy that even we couldn't get ammunition delivered to the gun section. We had to carry it in because it's so muddy. They got close, but we had to more or less carry it in, and those 155 projectors only weighed 98 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and in the mud.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but November 11th, it froze. We got the first snow, and it started freezing. I mean, it got cold when we had snow, and it was so much nicer than that mud. It's cold.
Mm-hmm. Right.
At least we weren't in the mud, we were in the snow then.
Right.
And we were in that one position till, I think in later part of February, early March. We had a couple of weeks of R&R. We went back to Florence, and for R&R, and I don't remember which division. I think it's 88 took our place, and then we went back to the same spot, the same gun section, to original, just where we left from before the spring push started.
Mm-hmm.
And we fought through Branner Pass on through the Po Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and
Renner Pass, you said?
I think it's Branner Pass.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and Apennine Mountains, that was Branner Pass.
Right.
And there was one town that was about 8 miles north of us, between us and Bologna.
Mm-hmm.
That was an observation point. It was real high, a town named Levignana. And I believe everyone that was in the 91st Division remembered Levignana, because that thing, I understand that it changed hands 3 times in one day. We would shell it for a while, then Germans would shell it. It depends on who had it. We finally took control of
Right.
that Levignana in that area.
I'll be darned.
And that's when they hauled, well, the bodies, they put in, as they recover them, they put in mattress covers.
Mm-hmm.
We always had a mattress cover. It's long, and it's about the size what it was. That's what it was,
Mm-hmm.
and had a tie string on one end. Well, that's what they hauled them out of. And they stack them. Well, today nobody would know what it's like to stack cordwood on a truck,
Right.
but that's the way they stacked the bodies. It was just, and that's how many casualties we had there living young.
Yeah.
And was October of 06.
Mm-hmm.
All 4 of the kids, 6 of the grandkids, and Becky and I went. They made sure they saw. See, we were scheduled to go to the World War II Memorial. We had reservations there, I think, for the
Okay.
opening.
In Washington,
Mm-hmm. And that's when we're both patients at MD Anderson,
Mm-hmm.
and she had one of her appointments. She had to have her eye removed, so we had to cancel. So after that, they wanted to make sure that I got to the World War II Memorial.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So we went 2 years ago, wasn't
that's
Yeah.
October, 2
It's
years.
magnificent, isn't it?
They
It's magnificent.
Oh, it is.
I got to see it in December.
Mhm.
Just this past December, we went to Washington.
I tell you, everybody ought to see it, especially
Yeah.
a World War II veteran that has never seen it
Right.
should go see it
It is. It is.
if they possibly can.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but what was strange, one of the grandsons was coming in from New York. He was in training there with J.P. Morgan,
Mhm.
so he came in on a Saturday morning. Yes, and Becky and I and my oldest daughter, his mother waited at the hotel till he got there. Well, then we just took a cab to the monument, and my 2 daughters, and I don't know if the son was there too, but they were waiting at the opening for us to come in. They have already talked to a guy that was in the 91st Division.
Mm-hmm.
However, he was in the infantry. He came over there about the same time I did as a replacement.
they? They didn't
From
know
the-
one another.
We didn't know each other. We never met until that day. But he was one of the guys that was there in Levignana that we.
Same
so-
time we were.
Yeah. So, but they couldn't wait to let me
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Which, what are the chances?
Right. Right.
What are
right.
the chances of meeting
Right.
someone like that?
Right.
And we correspond now. They lived in Virginia, wasn't it? Pennsylvania, Virginia.
Virginia.
Virginia, I thought it was. And So we kind of communicate back and forth since then.
Right. What kind of resistance did you experience there in Levignana and in Italy when you were?
Well, there it was in Apennine Mountains. It was a lot of resistance.
Pretty significant.
Yes. Yes. In fact, see, they had guns mounted on tracks inside the mountain. They had to dig a tunnel into the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
They'd run those big guns out, and then that's fire, and then come back in.
Yeah.
They were hard to
pick out. Yeah.
And but it was a lot of casualties
Yeah.
in the Apennine Mountains. Well, all up through most of it. Now the Po Valley, once we crossed the Po River, it wasn't much.
Right.
It wasn't much.
Right.
But
was there a period of time that you were involved in it most every day?
well, yes, every day
Yeah.
when we're on the move,
Right.
I'm there for at one period of time. I know it was at least 3 weeks before we got to change clothes.
Yeah.
You know, it was in the foxholes and mud.
Was there ever a time that you felt that you were going to be one of those casualties?
You know, I never felt that way.
Yeah.
I always felt that, hey, this is just a game.
This is a job.
Job. That's what we came there for.
Right.
But what a strange. There's two guys that I went over with that was in, you know, the same battery that I was in a train when we trained together. And that one, I can still see him always setting off. Well, in fact, a couple. There's more than that, but there's two that I knew of. One was a good friend of mine that I even rode back and forth to his parents and his family in Indiana. Well, Gary, Indiana, which is right out of Chicago.
Right.
We used to go from Kentucky to Chicago on weekends. I don't know why we were so crazy. That's over 300 miles each way.
Uh-huh.
But it was something to do. And but anyway, he told me one day when we was there in England. He said, you know, I don't believe I'm going to stay overseas long. He said, I don't think I'm going to get killed, but I just have a feeling that I'm going to get hit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then he stayed in France, and I went to Italy, and that's how we communicated. Then I got a letter from his sister one day, said Grady was in England, he got hit in the knee, and he's on his way back.
Yeah.
And that's the last I heard. I wish I'd kept up with him closer.
Right.
But I didn't. And then, but this other boy, every time he'd be always out to himself, just kind of, you know, like something was bothering him.
Sure.
And we got out, and see, he was one of us replacements that went over. Well, we went out on an outpost, the foxhole, where more or less on guard duty, while guarding the rest of the section. And when his replacement came there in the morning, you know, he was nowhere around. We've never heard whether he got captured or he just run off, or don't know what happened to him.
Yeah.
Never did find him?
I don't know. We didn't. See, we were on the move, so we don't.
Yeah.
We never heard. He never came back. We never heard any more about him.
So where were you? You were still in Italy when the war ended?
Yes, we were up in. Well, we ended up near Yugoslavia there in Trieste. After the war ended, we were out just south. I'm trying to think. We're just south of Austria, of the Alps, but that's where we stayed for a few days, and then we switched on to the east, and we went down to
It says here that you told Bill near Trieste.
Trieste. It's supposed to be
Trieste.
Trieste. It's supposed to be.
Okay. On the Yugoslav border.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
And see, Tito was still making little noise. I don't know why. Well, I do know it. He got attention that way.
Yeah.
and that I wish I could remember the name of that river that ran between Trieste and between Italy and Yugoslavia up
Mm-hmm.
in that area. It was real wide. We used to go swimming in there a lot, but
Yeah.
the water was cold.
Now your brother was in the Pacific, is that right? At the same time?
I had three brothers.
Three?
In the Pacific. Yes, three.
They were fighting in the Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
So there were four of you in the overseas at the same time.
Yes.
Wow.
My older brother, one that's just older than I am, he went in. In fact, he and I were in. He joined for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, he wanted to get his year service in. Well, his year service would have been in January and December.
Yeah.
Well, you know what happened December 7th.
Right.
And
Right.
so he never got out.
Was he in the Army too?
He was in the Army.
Yeah.
But he and I were at Fort Sam Houston the same time when I was inducted, but we didn't know it till later. He was headed for the Pacific,
Right.
and I was just going in.
Yeah.
So he had as much overseas time as I had Army time.
Right.
And then, but see, I had a choice. I could have been at Army, Navy, or Marines. Well, I wanted the Marines,
Mm-hmm.
and the naval officer wanted me to join the Navy because they wanted me in the Seabees.
Mm-hmm.
But when he said Seabees, that's the wrong thing. At that time, we didn't know. Well, it's hard for you to imagine how little we knew about service, war, or what. Even we didn't even know where these islands were in the Pacific.
Right.
That was, it's just thing. Well, my leaderman there at the shipyard, he was in the Seabee Reserve, and he came to work that one day and just all shook up. But the Seabees had landed on some island ahead of the Marines, and all got wiped out, and it came on the news.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one telling us. Well, naturally, not knowing, I didn't want any of that.
Right. Right.
So then I said, well, give me the Army.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, I'm not sorry now that I took the route I did because I made it back. And Seabees I'd have been real good because you'd learn another trade.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
but who knows? I may not made it.
Yeah.
So
I've interviewed some Seabees before. They're fascinating stories, but it was dangerous work.
It
especially
was.
in the Pacific. Yeah.
in the Pacific,
Yeah. Building those runways and
right?
huts and all of that. But you had two other brothers that were in the Pacific also.
Yes, my little youngest brother,
Uh-huh.
he was in the Navy,
I see.
and he was in with LSDs. I
Uh-huh.
believe he never talked much about it. I understand he made 3 landings on Iwo Jima,
I see.
and once he left one of his friends from Snook on,
Mm-hmm.
was on it making the landing,
I see.
and I never got
Yeah.
Joe J.
Joe J.
Right.
And well, I'm afraid he was the oldest of us that was in. He was he was working Southern Aircraft in Dallas. Well, he stayed there. He was the last one to go in,
Right.
and then he went. He ended up in Guam on the airfield there. They're repairing B-29s.
I see. I
So
see. So when the war was over, and what did you do? Did you stay over there a while longer, or did you come
Well,
back? Or?
I stayed in Italy. When the war ended, that's when we were sent to the Trieste area.
Mhm.
I don't know where we were. I know we were right out, we were up near, I said Brenner. That's Brenner Pass is in. Isn't that in Austria?
I believe that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't Brenner Pass. I
Yeah.
forgot what pass that was in Italy now. I'm going to have to get the book out again.
Yeah. Okay.
But, after Youngkin was here interviewed, I went to looking at, I kind of got the book, the 91st Division. I just happened to flip it open
Uh-huh.
and start reading some, and then October of 44, we were rationed to 30 rounds per gun.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I forgot about it. I knew it then,
Yeah.
but I forgot about it.
Uh-huh.
And we were rationed to 30 rounds per gun. And come November the 1st, that was cut in half.
Yeah.
So we couldn't have kept going. I mean, we had to stop, let the supply line catch up.
Right.
And the ammunition we were firing, it looked old, and whether it wasn't, but they called it 1918 ammunition.
Uh-huh.
And someone said that was left over from World War One. I don't know. I mean, you know, you hear a lot of things out there.
Right. Right. Wow.
But no, then we spent when things calmed down between Yugoslavia and Italy. Well, then we headed back to the States for more training to go to the Pacific.
Right.
And however, we were on. I don't remember the name of the ship now. Coming home, I didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
It was an American luxury liner, but it's a lot smaller than the Aquitania was. And we were out in the Mediterranean a few hours. It was before we passed the Rock of Gibraltar.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, everybody was happy. You know, we're going home. They didn't care where we're going next, as long as we go home first. And all of a sudden, all the engines shut down. And boy, you can imagine what everybody thought. Bro, we did all. Finally, they said we have an important announcement to make. Japan has officially surrendered. So I was on the way back to the States when Japan officially surrendered.
Mm-hmm.
So
the celebration continued.
well, till we got out got out on the Atlantic, we hit a hurricane.
Oh.
And within 30 minutes, over half the ship, and we had like 5,000 GIs on, were sick.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. But,
were you one of them?
no, I almost.
Uh-huh.
I went up on deck, and I shouldn't say this, nothing, but I put my arm on that rail, and somebody up above.
No, threw up on you?
Oh.
Oh.
But that's when I almost lost it.
Yeah.
Not been fortunate about seasickness or airsick.
Yeah.
Never have been.
Right. So you got home and were you discharged then, or did you
No.
stay in for a while, or?
Well, we were, since the plans have changed, we first got a 30-day leave, and from Fort Sam Houston. We all went we landed in Newport News, Virginia, and from there we all went to our induction centers.
Mm-hmm.
And there they gave us 30-day leave, and I came home on a Saturday. I believe on a Saturday. Transportation was hard to get. So there's people that had cars, and I guess they got gasoline then already. For so much that it going like I caught one that was taking a group to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got off in Brenham, and then hitchhiked Lines, and then that was a dirt road from Lines to Snook most of the way.
Right.
And hitchhiked into Snook, and then walked the rest of the way. But that corner, I don't know. Have you ever been? You've been through from 6th to the Lines, and that where Snook comes in.
Sure.
Then right where you turn to Snook, there's another road goes to the left. That's where we lived, way
I see.
down that road, and so I got off there, and there's a young boy, tall. He said, "Hello, Ivo." The voice changing, and so we walked together all the way. I had no idea who it was, because when I saw him, he was just a little tot. Now he is over 6 feet tall and skinny, and voice changing. And we walked all the way to where his house was. They were on the corner, and then we lived just a couple hundred yards to the right of him, after you make a right turn. But after he turned into his home, well, I knew who he was.
Yeah.
He was about 16, I guess, then. But
You didn't tell me you had a fifth brother that he didn't go to the service.
Yeah, I had a fifth brother that was working here at Sabisa.
Oh, really?
But he started in the 30s.
Uh-huh.
He was my oldest brother.
I see.
And he had I think they had 3 children then. So in the draft, he got his draft call.
Uh-huh.
And I have a feeling, the way I understand that, it probably was a Colonel Dollar. But I don't know.
Fred Dollar? Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think it was Fred
Um,
Dollar.
And so my brother took him, showed him the call to be drafted.
Uh-huh.
And I can remember brother talking about it. I said, man, he threw a fit because he wrote that draft board letter. Well, see, first of all, there was only 5 of us children. It was all boys.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And, really it was kind of an unwritten rule that they wouldn't call a whole family.
Right.
But their draft board is calling him, and he had 3 children, I know,
Mm-hmm.
already. And so he wrote him a letter. He must have wrote him a nice letter,
Mm-hmm.
because he said, first of all, he said, we're training officers right here, and we need people to cook for them here. If the Army got him, he'd be a cook. He wouldn't change job. Wouldn't change.
He was over the dining hall there,
Mhm.
mess hall.
Yeah.
Lisa.
Lisa.
Yeah.
So that's what he wrote the draft board, and so he got his deferment.
Yeah.
And Fred, his oldest. Fred was the oldest.
Well, no, he's younger than Julius.
Yeah. After he got out, then he went to work for NASA,
Uh-huh.
Well, he worked Bryan Air Base first,
and then NASA.
and then went to work for. Then I think when they closed it, he went to Kelly, and then to NASA.
I see. I see.
He
So-
built the toolbox, which they call the wheelbarrow,
I see.
that they left on the moon,
Oh, yeah?
and something that no one knew. Well, I didn't know that. He just told me not to tell. But after he died, we got talking about it. His oldest son. He told his oldest son and myself, we were the only two that knew this, and he explained how the thing was built. He said up front, he said there was a double panel. So before he put the other one in, he put Fred H. Junek, P.O. Box 22, Snook, Texas, on, and then it's sealed inside, and that's left on the moon.
I'll be darned. And this is your oldest brother?
Next to the oldest.
Next to the oldest.
One
okay.
that
Yeah.
Worked for NASA.
Right.
worked for
He worked for NASA.
Mhm.
Fred.
Fred.
So after he died,
Well,
so
that-
he could
them-
tell it.
Because that was a no-no. Something leaving any kind of information.
Right.
But now that he had passed away, well, we can
Yeah.
tell that.
So it's on the moon. How about that? So you got back. What'd you do after you got back? What?
Well, when I got back, I first went to work for Lower Colorado River Authority, LCRA,
Mm-hmm.
which is Blue Bonnet now, and
Mm-hmm.
I stayed there till we were clearing right-of-ways
Mm-hmm.
for power lines, and digging holes and clearing land and all that. And one day I was working near Giddings, and the limb was a lot smaller than I thought, and the axe hit my foot. Well, that's the last day I worked for him.
Mm.
And then, cousin and I, we bought some welding machines, and we had a welding shop there at Snook for a while,
Mm-hmm.
until we decided, well, I guess, he's the one that he went in after I did, but he was overseas, and he got hit pretty early and was back in the States, and he was working back at the shipyard when I got discharged.
Mm-hmm.
But we decided we both liked to weld and thought we'd do that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we made a mistake. We started off on borrowed money, which is all right, but we worked every day we could. We even worked on Sundays a lot, Sunday afternoons,
Mm-hmm.
and once you get a community used to that, you can't break them from it. The only way was to sell. But then we finally got, we just said, hey, we got to stop this. We can't do it. So we sold sold welding shop, and we did a little work on cars, mostly our own cars. We were both single then, and so I kind of stayed around there. And one day I went to Houston and ended up going to work on a temporary job for Shell Oil, Shell Chemical. And it's supposed to last 3 months. And 38 years later, I retired from the temporary job.
I'll be darned. And what was your position there?
I was the foreman, warehouse foreman.
Warehouse foreman? In the shipping yards or
Oh, this was in the refinery, chemical plant.
I see.
Chemical plant.
I see.
The refinery and chemical plant were two different plants. I mean, they were right together. One took feed from the other, but when I went to work there, I went to work at the chemical plant, and I could not. You stood a better chance of getting in that refinery than I did. And then later, however, they made it a complex, so we worked both sides, chemical and refinery.
Right.
But it is totally two different operations. Chemical plant took all the waste from the refinery. That's where what they made products out of.
Yeah. So when and how did you meet Becky, and how long have y'all been married?
Well, see, we both lost our spouses.
I see.
I lost my first wife in '79, and
mine in '88.
she lost.
I see.
And so my sister-in-law introduced us
I see.
in '90, and she tried for 6 months or longer, and I told her I just kept saying no. She kept saying
And
no.
I kept saying no.
We didn't know each other. Now she knew my brother.
Where were you from?
Franklin. I
From
was
Franklin?
raised in Franklin,
I see.
but my husband and I lived here.
see.
All our married life.
I see.
And then finally, she called one day, and Libby Gosh, you may know her. She worked out at the college for years. Anyway, she tried. She said, "I'm not taking no for an answer. Meet me at the
Bicycle
club. Where Denny's is. Denny's?
Right.
Denny,
Yeah.
yes.
She said, I just want y'all to meet. Y'all so much alike." So, anyway, I had a date that night, about 8 o'clock, I think, and I said, "Okay, I'll come for a while." So when I got there, Ivo was there, but I didn't know it was him. I didn't know what he looked like.
Yeah.
So I went up, I looked up there, and I thought, that could be him. And so about that time she came in, didn't she?
I believe so.
Yeah, anyway, so that's how we met.
Yeah. And
I
y'all had already
I
met.
always tell everybody we met in a beer joint.
But anyway, we hit it right off. And
Yeah.
a year later, we got married.
I'll be darned. What a wonderful story. Tell me about Ivo. Is that a family name, or is that?
No, my mother told me that she had a book that said The Life of Ivo.
The Life of Ivo.
She read it.
Uh-huh.
And then that was when she was still single, young. Now my mother had some nieces and nephews that was as old as she was, I don't know how many there were in the family, but she was next to the youngest and some of the oldest. A lot of her older brothers and sisters I didn't even know, I've never met. But anyway, she read the book, and so she'd always, every time somebody in the family, had had a boy, she was wanting to name him Ivo. Well, there was an Ivo Shoppy that one of her sister-in-laws and brother and sister-in-law named one of their older boys, even older than my oldest brother. That's how long she was wanting somebody named Ivo. And so after that, I was the fifth born in the family. And so my aunt told her, "Look, you've been wanting that name Ivo all the time. When are you going to name one of your boys? You've already had 4. Well, I got the name."
You got the name.
But until the last year, the kids, it just the girls went.
Girls.
Yeah, the daughters all four, and then some of the grandkids went to Rome. And when they were on that trolley, my oldest daughter looked to the right. She saw a sign that said Basilica of St. Ivo.
They took a picture.
I bet they
So,
did.
so next day they had to find it, and I got pictures of it.
Basilica of St. Ivo. So you're named after a saint too.
Yeah. And didn't know it for
Yeah.
80 some odd years.
We both have unusual names.
Yeah.
Becky is just really a nickname. I've always been called Becky. But my name really is Veslin.
Veslin?
Uh-huh.
I see.
Vesslin.
I see.
So Veslin and Ivo, if they give out
Yes.
prizes for unusual names.
Unusual first names. That's true. Well, that's great. That's a fascinating story just between the two of you. And what did you do? What did you have a career or?
I worked for was Texas Industrial downtown. R.C. Dansby owned
Right.
all that
Right.
for 31 years.
I see. I see.
And my late husband worked for Atme Glass,
Yeah.
which was downtown.
Yeah.
And my late husband was a prisoner of war.
Is that
Of
right?
course, I didn't know him at that time. I married him after he came out of the service.
Yeah.
And then he died in '88.
I
He
see.
had Lou Gehrig and
I see.
also cancer.
I see. And what was his name?
Ed Pinter.
Ed Pinter. I see.
He was from Caldwell.
I see. And he was a prisoner of war in Japan or
In Germany.
in Germany.
19 months.
I'll be darned.
Was he captured in North Africa or Italy?
North Africa.
I believe in
think.
North Africa.
I think, but then
But
they
30
marched him,
Yeah.
so many.
Yeah.
At 36
He was,
was in North.
yeah. He suffered a lot.
I tell you, the 36, it took a beating all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a,
Have you got any pictures?
You
You
know,
were talking about that book and that picture that you were that you found recently. I'd like to scan some stuff and see what.
this is the book that was written, the guy that was in prison camp with my husband. And this was my late husband.
Oh wow.
This one.
Yeah,
And he's the guy that wrote the book.
I see.
It's just a little book that he wrote, but of course it's interesting to me. They were box buddies all through their time in prison together. And I made me a copy, then I donated the original book to the museum in Caldwell.
I see.
They have all of his medals and everything over there because that's where he was,
He was from.
Mhm.
Wow.
And we never had children.
Wow. Does Ivo have children?
Yes,
I need
whole
that.
bunch.
Whole bunch.
Four.
How many kids you got? You got four?
kids.
4 and 10 grandchildren.
10 grandchildren
Yeah.
and,
1 great granddaughter.
and 1 great granddaughter.
Oh my God. Where all do they live? They live nearby or
Well,
scattered around or?
Not too far. The furthest one, I guess, is one of the grandsons that's in Dallas.
Yeah.
And the one that has the little girl, which is a granddaughter, they live in Waco. And all the rest of them are around
Houston
the
Spring.
Houston area, Spring, Katy, Tomball. And
Right.
so we're very fortunate being able to get together
Yeah.
several times a year.
Oh, I bet
He
it's-
has a farm out of Caldwell there,
Mhm.
so that's where they usually come to visit.
Right.
Talking about
Run and play and all that,
Yeah.
fish and
Yeah.
when you said Rogers, that's
That's the
that's the last.
that's the reunion, huh?
Well, and that's just
That's the
immediate.
family.
That's just immediate family. I mean, just well, I say immediate.
Right.
That's
That's the kids and the
grandkids
grandkids.
and the
great grandkids.
just know the great grand. Let's see.
Great grandkids aren't born yet.
That is. It's she.
Who is?
This may have been a year. This was the. This wasn't
I don't
last
see
year.
a baby on there.
No.
Yeah, don't see
No,
a
they're-
little baby.
They're the ones that have the baby.
I see. Okay.
This is when we were in
Washington.
Yeah, that looks very familiar. Yeah, I was just there last, or December. Yeah.
We really enjoyed that trip.
I did too. It's the first time I'd ever been to Washington, and I really enjoyed it.
We've been there before.
Yeah.
And I was going to tell you, we'd also been to Germany, and we've been to a lot of places that y'all were talking about.
Right. There's the Tomb of the Unknown. I got that same picture. I got this picture. I went to Arlington, and I didn't have any transportation. I just went by subway to Arlington, and then I went through the main cemetery then, and then I walked to this. That was quite a walk, because it's way down on the other end of the cemetery. It was quite a walk, but it was worth it taking the picture of the Iwo Jima Memorial. Yeah, oh yeah, I've got all these pictures.
Wait, that's nothing new.
Yeah.
But I just pulled the.
Granddaughter she'll be graduating May from A&M.
Right.
She's one that compiled that book.
I see.
She did real good.
That's great.
Oh, that's 4 kids and myself there.
Yeah, it's quite a.
Yeah, she got the book. She did the book for me after.
Right.
Gave it to me.
I've got that same picture of me right next
Right.
to Texas. Yeah.
We didn't try to stay up with them kids. We said,
Oh,
y'all
no,
go do what you want to.
Yeah, we would have just held them back like they
They'd
did
ride
what you did.
They'd
to
ride
walk.
the subway. We'd call a cab.
Right. Right. Subway was really pretty easy to use there. It really was. There you are. That's a good picture.
Oh, that's another one. We know that's a friend of ours, and
This is just one from just this last Sunday, wasn't it?
no.
Or was this?
Well,
was this?
you know, I didn't.
We saved
No, you're
We
right.
said-
You're right.
we-
This is longer ago.
We save them all.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
want to
When
give
they
him
do the
that.
book, we're going to throw all those away.
Right.
Well, I want to give him this one, and I saved it and just never.
Yeah.
We've seen him, but not to
Who is that?
Whittapill,
Oh, Vitterpill.
Clarence.
A lot of them we knew.
What you got there?
Oh, these are some. Well, being I was in the artillery,
Mm-hmm.
there's one of the there's that 155
Oh,
howitzer.
these are great pictures. Now you're in these pictures. Where are you?
One on this one. Let's see, that's me right there.
Okay, bottom left.
That one I'm not on it.
No,
That's
you're
just that's our officers and.
Right.
All these were taken after the World War was over. That's when we were in Italy and northern, just marking time.
Uh-huh.
There's another one of.
Are you in this one?
I mean, let's see, where am I in this one?
That you say?
Right.
Right there?
Right there.
Okay. That's a great picture.
See, we even had volleyball team out
Oh.
there. And let's see, maybe that's me down here.
Yeah. I can tell by the haircut. Yeah.
I can still name most of some of the guys. These things were put away so many years.
Yeah.
Now this is just a souvenir from. What did I say?
This is the one in
Oh,
the bar.
Times Square. Times Square.
In New York?
New York, before we left.
Oh, wow. That's a good picture. Where are you here?
Right there.
Right there on the right.
Do you look drunk?
He looks happy.
He's always happy.
Yeah.
And
I sound worse than I feel.
this was,
I know how that is.
this was still taken in the state. That's when that's the 105 on self-propelled.
Is that you there?
Right
Right there?
yes, that's me there.
Yeah.
And
wow, these are really good
that's-
pictures.
See, and that's that one. There's a barrel,
Uh-huh.
but this is a turret for the one. That's a 50 caliber machine gun
Yeah.
mounted there.
Now, where are you in this one? Is this you here?
Yes.
Right there in front? Yeah. I want to borrow these and scan them.
Okay.
And give them back to you on on Thursday. These are great pictures. These are well preserved pictures.
I guess they weren't used very much. No, that's my that's my mother. That's the house she was born in,
Right.
and this was taken in '62.
She wasn't living in the house.
No, she wasn't living. Well, she was born. That's the house she was born in back in 1886,
Yeah.
I think.
Right.
83 or 86.
Right.
86, yeah, 'cause she passed away in 93 on her 96th birthday.
I see. Wow. She lived a long life.
Mm-hmm.
So you retired from Shell in when? What year?
1986.
1986.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you get to Bryan? Just
Well, I retired in June of. Wait a minute. Yes, when did I?
When he married me.
uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, when I got. But I retired in 80. Did I say? Or you say retired?
Retired from Shell.
89. June? No. Yeah, June the 1st of 86.
Uh-huh.
And then, well, I kept my home there in Bryan, in Houston. 'Cause
Right.
I had two at A&M at the time. My two youngest were here.
Uh-huh.
And and I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I know is when moved both of them out. See, my son graduated from U of H. He wanted to go to A&M, and when his mother got sick,
Right.
so he stayed and went to U of H
Mm-hmm.
and he majored in accounting. And then he went to work. Well, first he went to Arthur Anderson, and a couple of one bank, I forgot it first. They went under later.
Mm-hmm.
First Interstate,
Mm-hmm.
and then by that time he thought he'd like to be a loan officer in a bank, so he went to get his master's. Well, he was 2 days late from the register at A&M. I mean at U of H.
Right.
And my youngest daughter was a junior here at A&M, so she called. She said, "I believe they'll let you in there at A&M." Well, the deadline was the same, but at least they ought to talk to him, and that's when he fell in love. Then he thought U of H was a school. You know, after you go to school,
Yeah. Right.
he thought it was it. But after that, he favors A&M because of the manner they went about helping him get in and everything else. He said he got to talk to the dean the first day, and out there, no, you can't do it. You can't do it.
Yeah.
So then he came to A&M,
Yeah.
and I just, boy, whenever I moved them both out here, I got back to the house, and that house was empty then.
Yeah.
Because up till then, I had one of the kids there, or both of them, nearly all the time.
Right.
And
So two of your kids went to A&M?
two, yeah.
Yeah.
And well, my oldest daughter never did graduate from college. She got married and was gonna. She was in her junior year, and she said, well, she was gonna work and put her husband through. And when after he got out of school, then they moved so much. She even registered at UT once, and before school started, well, he got transferred again. So.
And then they had 4 boys.
then they were back in Houston when they had the 4 boys.
Had a set of twins.
Yeah.
But you had two here when I retired. I thought I was crazy retiring with 2 in college, but you know. So I just kept my home there back and forth, and then see I had a 12 or 65 at the farm that we spend weekends in.
Right.
That's all I needed. The kids were coming. Man, but on weekends I had a bunch of Aggies there after a while. In the spring of the year when it was nice.
Yeah.
Because they had a couple of motorcycles and tennis. You know, they had tennis court.
Right.
And horseshoe pitching. And one Saturday I drove up. I wasn't there, and I don't know how many were there.
Yeah.
But I counted 21 cars.
Oh my goodness.
They were all over that farm.
Ah.
But you know what's
Yeah.
still, well, through the kids, still hear from some of
Right.
us. And that's,
So your farm is in Caldwell? Is
well,
that
it's south of Caldwell,
South
8
Caldwell?
miles.
right?
You know where what now Brazos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that road there.
Okay.
It's right there.
Turn off
See, it borders
Right,
36
farm
and then 976.
I see.
Well, the house is
farm
on
road there.
976.
Now it's double wide
Oh,
with a
Yeah.
built on.
You know, we had,
I'll tell you something funny about the little trailer. He had that when I met him. And it was a cute little, trailer house. And the youngest grandson, the one that's in Dallas.
not the
They
youngest
are-
grand, but
it's not
oldest
the
daughter's
youngest.
youngest
But
grandson.
anyway, last year they gave him a birthday party down at Rockport. Some of them have houses there, so they gave him a big birthday party. We was all sitting around there. And Robert, he's real witty. He's
Kinda
not
quiet.
Kind of quiet, but he's witty. And he said, Grandpa, what I remember about the farm and had such a good time. And he said, what, Robert? He said, that little trailer that you had out there. He said, I just love that little trailer house. And I said, Robert, I like that little trailer house too. I said, that's the reason I married your grandpa, to get that little trailer house. And he said, do you know, Grandma, that's probably true. And just think, then you graduated up to a double wide. Because then we bought a double wide out there. Then we built on a 3-car garage, and it looks like a big place.
That's funny.
But he was so cute. And he said,
That's
graduated up to a double wide.
Oh, that's funny. That's good. So you spend a lot of time out there.
Oh yeah, we do.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, good.
Kids hardly ever come here.
Yeah.
The, all the kids, only if they're passing through or something like,
Right.
well, like the granddaughter that's graduating in Macy, she's doing her student teaching in Plantersville now.
Uh-huh.
So she's staying home. She drives from Tomball.
Yeah.
But when they'd come,
Yeah.
that's that's the only time we've seen anybody here is when just
Right.
anytime they come to the farm. In
We
fact,
have all of our get-togethers out for
everything.
Yeah.
Christmas and Easter and all that.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of built. Well, first, really bought the trailer that when we were planning on building here. After we were going together, I said, well, even when I lived in Snook when I was a boy, we didn't get to brine very often, but I always liked it here. And then my brother worked at Sabine, so after I got out of service, I was here in College Station
Yeah.
a lot, and so my plans were to live in Bryan, and so the kids like to come out to the farm, so that's when I had that double wide. It kind of had a special built to fit the location. It's a 32 instead of a 28-foot wide and 6 feet long, and then the entrance is on the end where the kitchen is, the big kitchen. So it's really kind of built for having occasions there. And then then I decided, well, heck, we married and had 3 places. We had her home here in Bryan, mine in Houston, and then we had,
And then I had a farm.
and then she had a farm there.
Right.
So I decided, so we were just going, I said, well, and we're spending got to where we're spending most of our time there in the country.
Right.
And so I decided to put on well, it's more than a 3-car garage. It's a lot deeper. It's a 32 by 32,
Yeah.
size. And so, and then we added what they call the garden room. The tax people did. It's closed in, but it's between the garage and it all joins in together. You wouldn't know if you didn't know it. You wouldn't know it's 2 different buildings.
I see.
And the carpenter did a good job of tying them in together.
Yeah.
And so it just made it ideal for us, for what we use it for.
Indeed.
And
Wow.
but then we traveled a lot, and one day she said, we had this lot bought. She said, do you really want to move to Bryan? I said, well, I'm happy here, but I figured she'd be wanting to move back to Bryan. She said, well, we travel a lot, and that'd be just another place to keep up. But in the meantime, I don't know if I sold Carol my house yet. My youngest daughter bought the house there in Houston. And I think you had already sold yours here. And so we just decided, well, we just live there, which we did until we both had a bout with cancer. You know, she had melanoma in the retina of her right eye. About a week or two later, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And after I had that surgery, I said, we better get to town while we're able, because, boy, that knocked the props out from under.
Sure. Sure.
So we went ahead and built. However, now I guess we have...
But we didn't stay down very long.
No, but y'all are both cancer survivors, so that's
Mhm.
wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
And doing good.
Yeah.
You have to go
Yeah.
pretty often for all those tests, but
Right.
that's not bad.
Right. 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 Well, great. Well, Thursday afternoon at
Okay.
2:30, I'd like to do this show, and Becky, you can come if you like, and we'll have a chair for you. You can sit there and watch it all happen.
Okay.
And do you know where KAMU is on campus?
No, I don't.
Well, if you give me it's best for me to draw a little
Yeah.
map. If you got a
Yeah.
pen and a piece of paper,
I was
I'll
gonna
tell you
say-
exactly where to go. Tell you exactly where to go.
You know,
And we'll start taping at about 2:30. So if you could be there around 2:15 or so,
Okay.
and we'll you've seen the show, and it's exactly what you see. I'm sitting in a chair, and you're sitting in a chair, and we just go for 28 minutes, and I'll just sort of lead the discussion and just let you talk about things. We'll probably get right into your World War II service, and
Right.
then at the end, if we have time, we might backtrack to how you got up there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to talk about.
You sure you don't want something to drink?
I'm positive. Thank you, Becky. I appreciate it.
No, if you wouldn't have called last week that you couldn't make it, I was going to have to call you, because, man, I start feeling bad.
Oh, did you? Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's,
But yeah, we had. I ended up this last week doing 3 different shows, and one guy had to could only do it last week. So I'm glad that worked out.
yeah, it worked out real good. I'll be going to the country in the morning. I got a few things I got to do here first, and then today yet. Let's see. Yet, Saturday was my day to feed the cows, but it's so nasty. I waited till yesterday.
Okay. Here is. It's right. It's very easy to get to. It's just right off the edge of campus. Here's George Bush Drive,
Mm-hmm.
and there's Welborn
Okay.
right there, and this street going right into campus right here is called Houston Street. Not many people know the name of it, but it's Houston Street.
Okay.
That's the first one. This is the former students building here, and that's the foundation building right there. The 2 big buildings, and that's Houston Street right there. And you just go a little ways, and right here on the left is a 1-story building, and that's KAMU.
Okay.
And it says KAMU right on the outside, and broadcast services right there. So it's right there. You just come George Bush. So you'll be coming, I guess probably from George Bush this way, I guess.
Oh, yeah, or either.
Or if you want to come up Welborn, you just turn left.
I'm just thinking.
This is railroad tracks here.
That's railroad track, and this is,
Yeah, this is Welborn right there.
that's,
so if
Welborn's
you're going
over
to come
here.
up Welborn, you got to come up Welborn from Bryan. Is that probably the best way to go? I guess.
From Bryan, and now.
Or if you're going to go, are you just going to go?
how about
go,
Texas to George Bush?
Okay, well that's just this would be Texas Avenue right here. You just be going Texas to George
Right,
Bush
and
and
make
turning
a right.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
And
then you just keep on going, and then the street before you get to Welborn
before you get to Welborn,
is
okay.
Houston Street.
Okay.
You see the big
Okay.
former
Oh,
students building right here.
Okay.
Right at the former students
Mhm.
building, you turn right, and then just go past KAMU and turn into the parking lot right there. And right here, facing the street, is about 4 parking places that say reserved 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are reserved for guests of KAMU. So just come right in the parking lot and you turn and just park right there,
Okay.
facing the street.
And reserved. Okay.
Yeah, and just walk down the sidewalk and come right in the front door,
Yeah, that's
right there.
okay.
And this is called Houston Street right there, and there's George Bush. And
Is
there's
there a
Texas.
light there?
And there's Texas. Yes, there is.
Yes, I thought
Yeah,
it
there's a
was,
light here. Yeah, there's a light here. You bet. And that's how you get there. And if you could be there about 2:15 on Thursday,
Okay.
and I'll be there. And if I'm not there yet, just go in there and say you're there to tape the veteran show, and they'll take you to the back to the studio. And I should already be there, but
Well, you never know.
you bet. You
And
bet.
if anything happens that we can't,
Right.
It'll,
If anything comes up, I'm going to put. You probably already have it, but I'm going to put my.
I always like to have access.
That's my cell number right there.
Okay.
If anything comes up, but hopefully there won't. We'll do the show, and like I say, we just sit there, and they tell us to start, and we just start, and we just go. 28 minutes, and about halfway through, we'll stop and we'll look at some of these pictures.
I thought you said a commercial break.
No commercial break. We'll look at some of these pictures. Can I borrow this
Sure.
and give it back to you on Thursday with these pictures inside of it, because I'll scan it on my computer and they'll all be ready for the show, and I'll just hand this back to you on Thursday when we're there. Okay. Take my recorder.
Yes.
What I do is a dandy little thing.